trying to catch up, but they're so far behind. I just don't think they're going to have a hope of catching Musk at the moment. VW is the one that's probably made the biggest commitment to EVs. But again, I think Musk is 5 to 10 years ahead technology-wise compared to these other companies. Now, if there's a universal solid-state battery developed, well, that could be a game changer. That means traditional auto producers can switch over their manufacturing to electric vehicles. Mind you, it's a big capital cost to do it. So again, it's going to be tough for them because Musk has begun from the word go to be an EV manufacturer. Gives him a huge advantage. Oh, it's really nice here today. A bit quiet on a Sunday morning too. It's a good time to shop. Smell some toast, quite nice. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling better. I was feeling pretty seedy late last week, but I've certainly picked up. And I had the red wine last night and it wasn't bad. Apparently it's in between a Merlot and a Cab Sauv, this particular blend. It's an early maturing grape in Spain, and yeah, it was fine. I had some, some cheese, had the sharp and bitey, the Bega sharp and bitey cheese slices with crackers. Yeah, it went down really well. I was going to have something else to eat at night, but that filled me up. Trouble is, when I just do that, sometimes I get a bit of it affects my stomach overnight and I get a bit of an acid build-up, so it's a bit unpleasant, but it didn't happen last night, so it was good. I got the dozen eggs, free-range eggs at Woolworths that I forgot to pick up yesterday. So now I can make my not so healthy but very tasty roll, which is sort of what I do is I use a hamburger bun and I heat it up in the oven, crisp it up and warm it up, then put on an egg, fry an egg and some bacon, put them on, and then a slice of tasty cheese, well the strong and bitey at the moment, that's the one I've got in stock, and then I cover it with a crap load of fresh spinach, which is a bit weird, I know, but I like it. I think it works, so I'm going to stick with it. So I like to be a bit different. I also looked up some information on where I'm living in Parramatta Park, so to look at the it's not a big suburb, it's only about 3,500 people, and majority of people in my suburb are renters, and I'm in the way in the minority when it comes to being an owner-occupier, especially if I don't have a mortgage, which I don't. There's only about 165 of us in the whole suburb according to the Bureau of Stats with the last census in 2016, so I was quite surprised at that. A lot more people holding mortgages and a hell of a lot more people renting. And the education thing's slightly above, education qualifications for bachelor's is slightly above other provincial parts of Queensland. I thought it might be higher because of all the Asians living in my area. I thought they're so big on education that it might boost it, but apparently not. And Indigenous population surprised me too. That was actually it was about 8.9 or something, and then went up to over 9 in the following census. So it's a little over 9%, maybe 9.5%. So that seemed fairly high. But yeah, it's just a bit of an eye-opener about Parramatta Park. Like I say, very small suburb. Let's go, bugger it. Take a risk and go across it. Shit. I think I just beat the lights. Yeah, so I think it's one of the first suburbs built in Cairns, because it is so close to the central business district, as it were. Oh well, it's Tuesday afternoon, early afternoon. I may or may not go out for a walk today. It's actually another beautiful day here. We've had a succession of fantastic days. And what's made this day even better is that I just logged on to Sky News Online and got the report that Paddy Gibson, who's the organiser of this ridiculous Black Lives Matter protest in Sydney, right in the middle of this coronavirus lockdown situation, has been taken away by the police and fined $1,000. That's the good news. Personally, I would like to see him do a little bit of jail time just to make the point, but $1,000, I doubt whether he will probably end up paying it. I suspect that the University of Technology in Sydney, where he works as an academic, researching into Indigenous topics, they may well foot the bill. I hope they don't, but I think that might be the case, in which case you'll have the government finding an individual who is in turn reimbursed by another government organisation, and that makes a hell of a farce of the whole situation. But again, these people are treated like elites. They are in a special position, and unlike mere mortals like blowjogs in the street who probably just struggling from paycheck to paycheck or benefit check or whatever, they couldn't afford that imposition of $1,000, but for him it won't hurt at all. As a matter of fact, he's probably unhappy because it was a fairly small turnout. Looks like a bit of common sense did prevail amongst these protesters, and there was only a couple of dozen people by the looks of things in a fairly dispersed area. So I mean, at least as far as the virus is concerned, very little damage was done, I would think. I still believe that there probably has been an overreaction to some degree in most of Australia. Victoria's been totally bungled, obviously, and there have been a number of deaths, and you need to take that seriously because it is affecting the situation with the medical response. I spoke to my cousin yesterday, who is a nurse, and she said that they were down to 75% elective surgery, and she was worried that it may be totally abolished. And guess what? Today the news is there's no elective surgery anymore. So she was spot on. She actually predicted it perfectly. And of course, down in Melbourne, everyone has to wear a mask. They can't visit people. Well, normally my cousin and her other half would be visiting neighbours. They can't do that now. They've got a large property, but it's 10 degrees, it's cold, it's blowy weather, but they seem to be in reasonably good spirits, and they're handling it okay. But I don't think I'd be as happy, to be quite frank. I mean, I'm very happy I'm up here in Queensland. It's worked out brilliantly for me. But I really feel for people living in Victoria. It shouldn't have been like this. I mean, chances are they might have had a bit of a spike, just simply because it's winter, they cop it worse. But Tasmania hasn't had it as bad as Victoria on a pro rata basis, so cold weather can't be the whole story. I think we know why Victoria is suffering more than it should be, and I think we know that it's the typical story, government incompetence. And it's a damn shame that Dan is the man down there. But they'll probably vote him back in. There's an election coming up not that far off. Looks like Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand's going to be re-elected. I mean, I don't know. It may well also mean that we might have to put up with another 3 years of Labor here, because they'll be crowing about how saying they made the right decision about border closures. But they weren't to know that Victoria was going to be such a basket case. I certainly supported that particular move after it became obvious how bad things were in Victoria. I mean, you've got to draw a line somewhere. When I was actually looking up about the situation with the particular protest, the BLM protest in Sydney today, I did a little bit of research and found, of course, there was medical people saying you shouldn't be doing this, big surprise, and even an Indigenous medical group, who I don't know what their legitimacy is, but even they didn't say don't do it, they just said you don't do it now. So at least everybody seems to be, telling these people, what the hell do you think you're doing? I was very happy that this came to a relatively happy conclusion today. And unfortunately, you can't say the same for in America. Things seem to be getting worse and worse over there, and certain cities are just crazy, like Portland, Oregon. I don't know, what a world we live in. And just also a word about Boca Chica. Absolutely nothing exciting. I think you can guess what I'm going to tell you. And yes, the road closure actually wasn't cancelled, so that is the interesting thing. But the static fire didn't happen. It was just a no-go. They actually had a cam there. It's probably some of the most boring internet footage you could see, because you're just looking at basically a glorified tin can on a pad. I mean, the ramifications of this, if it works, are great, but the process can be quite boring, even for someone who's really into this space development and high-tech stuff like me. This is only for the real hardcore people. And today there was a great anticipation, but I think it was around 7:30 p.m. In Texas time. They basically pulled the plug on it. They said they had a window of opportunity, and it was actually had a NASA logo on this one, so it looks like NASA might be getting involved in broadcasting these things. But I was actually alerted to the live feed, that's why I got to see it, but I just had another screen in the background with the sound down, so I just thought I'd leave it there and look at it occasionally, see if there's anything on their checklist had changed to indicate that there was going to be a static fire test. Nah, nothing. It was just a total waste of time. And there is actually, one thing I did learn from this broadcast is that there actually is an imperative for SpaceX to try to get this testing program moving, because apparently that contract they signed with the Japanese billionaire to take a few artists on an orbital flight around the moon, there are a few milestones that need to be achieved along the way. And those include this testing regime, to have static fire, to have the 150-meter hop, and then the suborbital flight. These are all parts of the contract, and there will be financial penalties for SpaceX if they're not achieved. That's what my understanding is. I wasn't aware of that, so that was a bit of new information. I don't know when the next one's going to take place, because quite frankly I'm losing a bit of interest in it. I really just want to see them actually fire up the Raptor engine and let's see some action. But patience is a virtue when it comes to spacecraft development. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.